Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Badgers Burrow. In today's video, we're going to be recapping the blockbuster trade that went down in the NBA just one night ago. There was a lot of crazy moves, stuff that we thought was going to happen, but actually didn't. But hey, we're going to cover it all, even the teams that weren't involved. If you go on to enjoy this video, please consider subscribing and leaving a like on the video. It really does mean a lot and helps a lot as I try to grow this channel. Also, comment down below who you think won the trade, your thoughts in general, and also what video topics you want me to cover next. Hope you guys enjoy. A move we all saw coming from a miles away. One of the best players in the NBA is officially on the move. That's right, Rodion Kurucs is a Houston Rocket. But seriously, Dante Exum and Rodion Kurucs going to the Rockets? That's a huge trade, and they only had to give up a second-round pick. And some fat guy with a beard. But seriously, this is a blockbuster trade. James Harden going to the Nets does so much for all the franchises involved. And there was a lot. I'm going to start by recapping it from what I know via a tweet from Shams. He's a very good NBA insider. I suggest you follow him on Twitter to keep up with all the news. Here's what went down. The Houston Rockets traded James Harden to the Brooklyn Nets. And they received from the Nets, Rodion Kurucs, Caris LeVert, 3 first-round picks unprotected from Brooklyn, and 4 pick swaps unprotected from Brooklyn. Basically, for those of you who don't know, a pick swap is when you get to swap picks based off who has the better record. So if the Rockets have a better record than the Nets, they get to swap picks with the Nets and pick higher. So that's basically how that works. It protects teams from the stipend rule, which means you can't trade your first-round pick in back-to-back years. So pick swaps basically allow teams to get a little bit more compensation while everyone is guaranteed 1 pick. The Brooklyn Nets obviously received James Harden in this trade. It was a blockbuster trade. They got their big 3 with Kevin Durant, James Harden, and they didn't have to give up much. The Cavaliers were the 3rd team in this trade, and they received Jarrett Allen and Taurean Prince from the Nets. So I think this is a very mutually beneficial trade for all 3 teams. The Nets are obviously in win-now mode, and they got the best scorer in the National Basketball Association. The Rockets, they're going full rebuild. And as a Rockets fan, when I saw this trade break, I was not happy. But I've thought about it some more, and I've kind of come to peace with the fact that, hey, this franchise is going into a rebuild, new general manager, new coach. It's time to start over. And then the Cavaliers, they get Jarrett Allen, who's a big piece. He's a very young center who showed a lot of upside in this league, and I think that he could be very good with their young core. Obviously surrounding Sexland, which is Colin Sexton and Darius Garland. There's 2 young guards, and now they have a young center to play with them. But that wasn't it. The Houston Rockets were not done. They moved Caris LeVert to the Indiana Pacers, along with a second-round pick to receive Victor Oladipo. Now, I was very confused why the Rockets did this, because Caris LeVert is a budding superstar in this league, and you're trading him for Victor Oladipo, who's just coming off of a season-ending injury. I don't really get it. But when I looked into it further, I saw that Victor Oladipo had an expiring contract, and I think that was the main focal point for the Rockets. You get an all-star caliber player. Oladipo's an all-star a couple of years ago on an expiring deal. So you can see him for, most of the season, really. They've only played, I think, 12 games or some. Maybe not even 12, but you get to see Oladipo for a season, see him play with Wall, Cousins, Gordon, Wood, obviously. And then you get to determine if he's part of your team's future. It's an expiring contract. So if it doesn't work out, hey, you use that money in free agency. So that's basically a quick recap of what went down. I'm now going to get into the winners and losers of this trade, starting with the Houston Rockets, because I was just talking about them. I don't want to say the Rockets won this trade, and I'm not going to say they lost it, because for me there wasn't a clear loser. Your superstar, the face of Houston sports, sorry Deshaun, he wanted out. He was a cancer in the locker room. DeMarcus Cousins had a lot to say about it. yesterday afternoon especially. But you get a haul for James Harden. Obviously, he's one of the best players in the league. You demand, some significant compensation, and I think that the Rockets got that. You got an all-star like Oladipo, two young pieces, Dante Exum and Rodion Kuruc. I don't think I've mentioned Exum yet, but he came over from the Cavaliers. You also get 4 first-round picks, 3 from the Nets, 1 from the Cavaliers via the Bucks, and 4 swaps with Brooklyn. So, you're gambling that Brooklyn's not going to be good in the coming years, and it's possible. These 3 superstars, or two superstars and Kyrie, they're getting up there a little bit. They're obviously not LeBron. They're not 36, but they're in their low 30s. So it's reasonable to think that the Nets might be a mediocre team in a few years. So it's a low risk, it's a low risk, high reward, because Harden was not playing well. He basically quit. He's had his lowest scoring output of his career these past 5 or so games, I believe it was. I don't think he scored over 24 in one of those games, and he's all been playing big minutes. So he's really been trying to lose games for the Rockets. So no, for the Rockets, they had to get this deal done, and Brooklyn was what they saw the best package to be. Now moving on to the Nets. Obviously, you bring in James Harden. He's like a top 5 player in this league without question. And you pair him up with Kevin Durant, who's also a top 5 player in this league. That's scary. This team realistically is favorites to win the NBA championship right now. Definitely the East. But, there's obviously a lot of LeBron lovers out there who aren't willing to admit that the Nets are the favorite. But, with Harden and Durant, you really can't go wrong. You're basically bringing in 2 30-point-per-game scorers, or a 30 and a 35 at least. And you put them together, along with Joe Harris, who's an elite 3-point shooter. Your suspects down with center. You've got DeAndre Jordan, Nick Claxton, if he gets healthy. He can provide big minutes. But those 2 aren't question marks. The question mark is Kyrie. I haven't even really been mentioning that much because I don't know what the hell he's doing. He's at a family gathering, and then he's in a Zoom call with a Manhattan District Attorney, campaign. I have no idea what this guy's up to. I don't know if he's ever going to play in the league again. He's an idiot. Let's be realistic. Kyrie Irving is ridiculous. Stephen A. Smith says he should retire. I don't know if it's that extreme, but I have no idea what's up with that guy. But this trade is a loss for Kyrie. This is not good for Kyrie. He couldn't coexist with LeBron being a number 2 option. Now he's a number 3. I don't know what he's going to do. He's not even. I don't even know if he's going to play again. First of all, you have to assume that he's going to come back now that Harden's there. But the guy's an absolute lunatic. I don't know what else to say. He didn't like being LeBron's second in command. Now he's definitely the 3rd string. I saw it on Twitter. He couldn't be LeBron's Robin, but now he's the Alfred, the butler to Harden and Durant. But Kyrie is a nutcase. I still think he thinks the earth is flat, but that's enough about Kyrie. I've talked way too much about him in this video. This video is about James Harden. And he's going to bring the Nets a very deep playoff run if all goes well. It's going to be hard handling 2 big egos in Harden and Kyrie, 2 of the best scorers in the league with Harden and Durant, especially for a first-year head coach in Steve Nash. It's going to be difficult, but if there's anyone who knows the best way to use Harden, it's Mike D'Antoni, who is an assistant in Brooklyn. And I think that was ultimately why they really wanted to bring him in, is because Harden's relationship with D'Antoni is so strong, and the Nets see that they can really do some damage with this trade. Moving on to the Cavaliers, I think they did a very good job in this trade. They got involved. They gave up a 1st-round pick for a young center, and Taurean Prince. Taurean Prince has been less than stellar since leaving the Hawks in his 1 or 2 good seasons there. But you get Jared Allen. Jared Allen is a big player for this team. Obviously, you still have Andre Drummond, Kevin Love. There's probably a few other centers in Cleveland, but Jared Allen's a stud. He's a great player in this league. He's obviously not up there with the Jokic, Towns, Davis. He's not up there. Let's not kid ourselves, but he's a very solid sixth man, and he's 22 years old. You can really develop him into a starter. Speaking of Jared Allen, this trade is horrible for him. He has been placed in a poor situation. Now he's the sixth man. He was the starting center in Brooklyn. He was playing with KD, Kyrie, all those guys getting rebounds, blocks, you name it. But now he's been relegated to a sixth man role, playing behind Drummond. He's going to need to hope that the Cavs move Drummond, try to continue to get younger. This trade's bad for Jared Allen. It hurts to see a player like this. He's young. He hasn't really proven too much in this league yet, but his development is going to be severely stunted now that he's a sixth man. Now let's talk about the Pacers. We haven't yet. They slid in after the deal was done. They're like, hey, can we get Karis? We'll give you Oladipo. Sure. The Pacers won this trade. Absolutely. Karis LeVert is a budding superstar in this league. I'm hesitant to call him a superstar, but he's an all-star. Absolutely an all-star. And now he gets the chance to take the reins on a Pacers franchise that has TJ Warren out for at least a little bit longer. That's a good move. That's a really good move. Karis LeVert and the Pacers won this trade. Hands down, no question in my mind. LeVert is now the number one scoring option. Brogdon's good. He's more of a defender. You get Karis. He could average 25 points per game on the Pacers, especially with Sabonis and Turner all working together. That's a really good lineup. Brogdon, LeVert, Warren, Sabonis, and Turner. Give them 2-3 years to gel. That is a really good lineup and could compete in the East. Obviously not Giannis, not Butler, not even Tatum. Certainly not the Nets. But this Pacers team could make some headway in the East. I really like this trade for the Pacers. And Karis LeVert, I think, is going to have a great opportunity to thrive in his new environment. Who are we going to move on to now? Let's talk about Rafael Stone. You guys may not know who he is. He's the new GM in Houston. Obviously, they let go of Daryl Morey. He's now in Philadelphia. But this trade is very good for Rafael Stone. He gets rid of all of his cap space. They made the trade. They traded Westbrook in the summer, and now they've traded Harden. And in those two trades alone, Stone has released roughly $80 million in cap space. That's substantial. That is a lot of cap space. And now he gets the freedom to build his franchise however he wants. He has a budding superstar in Christian Wood. John Wall, who's been playing incredibly now that he's finally back. I love to see him on the court. Not even just as a Rockets fan. Love to see Wall back. But Christian Wood's playing at an elite level. Tucker, Gordon, Cousins, they're great role players. You bring in a guy like Victor Oladipo who can do so much to a franchise. He kind of jump-started, the Pacers getting that 4 to 6 seed every year. But Rafael Stone can build this franchise however he wants. He's got a lot of picks, obviously not a Sam Presti amount, but Rafael Stone's got a lot of picks in the coming years, and I think that, he can build a franchise very well. Build it around Christian Wood and see what happens. You obviously might not be a title favorite until LeBron retires, until the Nets dismantle, Giannis, Luka. You got so many guys. This is a star-studded league. But you can build a franchise to where you can bring back a star to Houston. He probably won't be a James Harden. James Harden's the second best player in Rockets history. You're probably not going to find that. But hey, they did once. They brought in a sixth man from OKC and turned him into an MVP candidate year in and year out. So I'm intrigued to see what Rafael Stone does with this franchise. Now moving on to the Eastern Conference Contenders. I said it in my notes that they are fucked. Yes, I mean that 100% wholeheartedly. Eastern Conference teams have to look at this and be like, my God, our chances just diminished by so much. By contenders, I'm really talking about the Bucks, the 76ers, the Heat, and the Celtics. And they all, none of them benefited from this trade. The Nets are so star-studded They have two of the best players in the league in Kyrie, if he ever plays again. That's going to be a very tough team to beat in the playoffs. I mean, obviously, Harden's had his playoff inconsistencies. Durant blew a 3-1 lead. But these guys are two of the best at their craft. It's going to be very difficult to beat this team. Obviously, the Heat had a magical run last year. Giannis is a back-to-back MVP. And Jason Tatum's playing like the MVP this year. So, I mean, it's obviously not out of the question for another Eastern Conference team to win, but the Nets are easily the betting favorite right now. And let's move on to the biggest loser of this trade, and that's the Philadelphia 76ers. I was refreshing my timeline all afternoon. Where's Harden going? Where's Harden going? And all I saw was, the Rockets are asking for this piece from the Sixers. It's going to be Simmons, another player, and a few picks. As a Rockets fan, I'm like, please, let's pull the trigger now, right now. As a Sixers fan, they should have been thinking that too. You don't have great shooting right now. Joel Embiid is playing the best basketball of his career. He might be the MVP this year, as it stands right now. But you get a guy like Harden. Morey already loves him. You pair him up with Embiid. That's a way better combination than Embiid and Simmons. But the 76ers essentially chose Tyrese Maxey over James Harden. You can look at how it transpired. But basically, the Rockets wanted Simmons, Maxey, Thibault, and draft compensation. And the 76ers weren't willing to give up Tyrese Maxey. Obviously, he's a great young player. He has showed so much promise in the minutes he's gotten due to the 76ers, all their COVID problems. But you chose Tyrese Maxey, a rookie, over the best scorer in the NBA. That's crazy to me. And obviously, you don't want to give up Simmons, but you have to. You don't want to give up Thibault, but you might have to. The picks, no one cares about the picks. You'll throw in picks and picks and picks. It's been done before. Teams aren't afraid to do it. But you wouldn't give up Tyrese Maxey for James Harden? That is mind-boggling to me. I don't know what Daryl Morey's thinking. I mean, Tyrese Maxey is great. Don't get me wrong. But you have a chance at James Harden. The Rockets want you. You get PJ Tucker as well. That was one of the trades I saw was Harden and Tucker for Simmons, Maxey, Thibault, and picks. But you wouldn't give up Tyrese Maxey? That's crazy to me. That's absolutely crazy. But that's going to be pretty much it for my takes on this trade. Obviously, this is the definition of blockbuster. It completely changes the landscape of the NBA. You have a new favorite in the East. Maybe the Lakers aren't even the favorite to win the whole thing anymore. The Rockets are going to rebuild. LeVert can be a superstar now. The Cavs acquired another center. But this completely changed the landscape of the NBA. We obviously know you want a big two at least. If you can get a big three, you're set. And the Nets are set. I'm not rhyming intentionally, but the Nets are good to go. They can go all the way. All they got to do is a little bit of managing on the ego side. But, you got guys like this who want to win so bad, they can put that aside. The one thing I'd say is that if the Nets don't win this year, it's over. It's over. Harden and Kyrie would not be able to accept not winning with this team. It's going to get dangerous. But, you're willing to take that risk if you're Brooklyn. You've been the laughingstock of the league, including the Knicks for the past 10 years, and you have the opportunity to go all in. Go all in. I don't blame them. I think that this is a true mutually beneficial trade. I think every team did rather well, obviously in different aspects. But this is some huge news in the NBA, and I think that it's like I said, it's going to change the course of the league. That's pretty much going to be it for this video, guys. As always, leave comments down below what you thought about the video, what I can improve, what topics I should cover next, or even just your thoughts about this trade. But that's going to be it for this video, guys. See you later. Peace.